Welcome to the Working Man Committee Podcast Weekend Edition. Is where we find one subject, one topic, and pretty much discuss that. Unlike the normal weekday show where we go through many topics and share opinions, we're just going to find one here. And so, Working Man, that means men, women, whoever's out here getting it. Like, subscribe, and then if you want to partake, drop in the comments. Let's talk about it. And so this weekend, let's talk NFL. So all the coaching hires have been made. And let's see what we got. So 5 vacancies open, 5 coaches hired. And let's talk about these coaches. We go through them and see were they worthy of getting the job or not, and what the aspect of the team will look like. Let's start off the top. DeMeco Ryans. Now, DeMeco Ryans was hired by the Houston Texans to be their new head coach. Yeah. So, where did DeMeco Ryan come from, yes? So, DeMeco Ryan was the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers this year and last year. And so, how good did he do on the job, you ask? So, the San Francisco 49ers allowed the fewest yards per game at 300 and the fewest points per game at 16. So, you had trouble moving the ball and you had trouble scoring. So, DeMeco Ryans, let's see, last coaching cycle, he was a topic of conversation for a head coaching position, but he decided not to pursue one. And he decided that he wanted to stay in San Francisco one more year and so forth. But like I said, he was hired by the Houston Texans, and actually, the little backstory on that is DeMeco Ryans was drafted by the Houston Texans, coming in when he played linebacker in the NFL. Yeah. So looking at that particular pick, defensive-minded head coach with a very strong defense taking over the Houston Texans, I think that could be a good move. Like I said, Houston Texans got a lot of draft picks for the Deshaun Watson trade and so forth, and let's see what they can build with that and what kind of staff that DeMeco Ryan can hire. Like I said, it's going to be who he picks his offensive coordinator, and then, like I said, they got number 2 pick in the draft. I don't know if they'll try to move up to 1 to pick the quarterback of the future, but like I said, there's several good quarterbacks this year, so maybe they don't have to move at all, but we'll see how that goes. Second hire that happened in the NFL, he's back, Sean Payton. If you remember last year, Sean Payton said he wanted to step away, take time, do nothing, and then he joined, I do believe it was Fox, and he did the analyst, in the morning football shows and so forth. And so now Sean Payton was a hot commodity this off season for a head coaching position, but there was some nuances in hiring him. Because he had stepped away, he was still under contract to the Saints. So whatever team that wanted his services had to, in turn, give permission from the Saints, and Saints wasn't going to give him away for free. And so the Denver Broncos ponied up the necessary king's ransom for him. I think it was a first-round pick, and I think some lower-round picks and probably some money to get Sean Payton. So let's talk about Sean Payton. Sean Payton was the coach for the Saints for 15 years, and he had 9 winning seasons in that 15 years in the NFC South and a Super Bowl victory. Sean Payton is known as a defensive-minded coach, guru sometimes, but all the younger coaches get the guru title. But like I said, he's been drawing up defenses and had Drew Brees and ahead of a lot of categories and stats. So, like I said, now They're looking at what they can do with Russell Wilson up there in Denver. I think a strong offensive coach would that season would have been the best pick there. But even though there was talks of DeMeco Ryan being a heavy consideration for the Broncos, Sean Payton probably is a good pick there because, like I said, with Russell Wilson last year and so forth, you need a strong coach to get him together. Next position was from the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator, Shane Stefansis. And I said, so Shane, this particular year, started calling plays for the Eagles, took it from the head coach. And before that, so he was there last year and called plays this year, and pretty much had Jalen Hurts looking very good. And going back a little bit more in his history is that he was with the Los Angeles Chargers, and he helped get Justin Herbert development. So Justin Herbert development to a pretty good quarterback out there and so forth. So like I said, so it looks like this guy can develop quarterbacks. And so with the Colts needing a quarterback because of when they had Franke Reich, it was a new quarterback almost every year over there, and there was no Frank Reich couldn't develop a quarterback. That with them going to be able to, with them in a draft position, I think it's fourth pick in the draft or something like that. That somebody that knows how to develop quarterbacks will be a very, very good move there. All right, and then our next position is Jonathan Gannon was hired by the Cardinals, and this one right here was kind of surprised me a lot here. The reason I say that is, who is Jonathan Gannon? He's a defensive coordinator, and he interviewed last with the Cardinals. Now, knowing where the Cardinals come from, right? You got a quarterback in his third year, I do believe, fourth year going in, and you had an offensive-minded coach that was from the college ranks, and then so you need somebody that's going to be able to develop a quarterback with Kyler Murray's skill sets. Shorter quarterback, more mobile, and does Jonathan Gannon fit that on the defensive mode? Now, you can say he can hire a good offensive coordinator to do this, but why did he get this position? So let's look back at a little bit of him. And so he interviewed with the Houston Texans, but that didn't really go anywhere. They were sold on DeMeco Ryans. Like I said, he interviewed with the Cardinals. He was the last interview with the Cardinals, and somehow he went and interviewed and got the job. So I don't know if the subsequent interviews or people that was looking at Kyler Murray like, why'd you pay Kyler Murray and what can we really do with him? Because he's kind of not lived up to what he was the expect of Cliff Kingsbury. But, we can say that Cliff Kingsbury said he always wanted to coach Kyler Murray from high school back when he was in college. And so I don't know if that in turn clouded his judgment on that particular player or not, but I do believe it did. And they were probably other quarterbacks that should have got drafted in that position because I think Cardinals had the first pick that year. They did draft him. Yep. So we go into here. So Jonathan Gannon. So we look back at the Super Bowl of Jonathan calling the defense, and so Jonathan Gannon gave up. He blew a 10-point lead, holding it in the halftime, and gave up 31 points in a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. So it shows that he couldn't adapt to what was new happening in the circumstances. So I don't know why. If you got that, if you're a player and you can't adjust as a defensive coordinator, how'd you get that position? So like I said, we just think about other defensive minded coaches that made adjustments in the Super Bowl. We can look back at Bill Belichick, and I know Bill Belichick like the GOAT coach, but it's all about making adjustments. Cause remember when they played Atlanta in that Super Bowl, the first half got away from him, and second half adjustments completely shut down Atlanta. They couldn't move an inch. An inch. But Kyle Shanahan got the 49ers coaching job. He was an OC over there and called an offensive genius, guru, but couldn't move the ball an inch. Yeah, and so Jonathan Gannon was surprised that he was able to even get this position, but maybe he was the only one that was willing to take it. And then we have last open position was Franke Reich of the Carolina. He got hired by the Carolina Panthers, and so Franke Reich was this. I don't know if this ever happened before, but Franke Reich was fired mid-season after going 3-5-1 from the Colts as their head coach. And so Franke Reich was actually not the first pick for the position when he got it. Josh McDaniels is actually offered the position and on principle accepted the position. I do believe Andrew Luck then retired at that point, and Josh McDaniels declined the position and went back to the New England Patriots. And so within Frank Reich's history, yes, he was a part of the Philadelphia team that won the Super Bowl, but he was not calling plays at that point. So the whole you need to call plays as the offensive minded coaches, he didn't have that on his resume. And then but then like I said, every year he switched out quarterbacks. Started with Jacoby Brissett, then Phillip Rivers, then Carson Wentz, then Matt Ryan, and Sam Ehlinger. And so that shows that he doesn't have the ability to develop a quarterback as Shane does. So at some point, you got to look at if the Panthers need a quarterback, and they've been going to the quarterback course, so the owner in turn should have seen somebody who can develop a quarterback. Should have been the position. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna take it away from Steve Wilkes, that was a very good defensive player and got the offense playing a little bit better. But I guess that wasn't my choice to say we're gonna make sure we get somebody that can develop a quarterback and so forth. But it is what it is. And so, like I said, this has been a Working Man Committee podcast. It's just going over NFL NFL head coaches in this hiring cycle. So we'll see what the hiring cycle looks next year. Peace.